Good evening. The hour being after 6:15, I would like to call the August 24th, 2023 school committee meeting to order. Our first order of business is the Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So I need to start out with an apology to my vice chair because we have a bit of a surprise agenda item. To begin tonight's meeting, we'd like to recognize Nancy Gallivan for her 25 years of service on school committee. Dr. Goff?
Oh my.
Yes, 25 years. So dedicated service to our students, their families, their staff. It's really remarkable and greatly appreciated. So we really thank you for your unwavering commitment. I can't believe it's been 25 years. It goes by fast.
Sometimes it feels like a little more. Sometimes not.
Unbelievable.
Oh.
I'd like to open it up to any comments from the committee. I think
Through you, Madam Chair.
Buckley?
Just a few questions, as our dear colleague likes to always say at every agenda item. I just want to congratulate you for having overseen the school district for 2 full generations of students, the beginning of which was myself and your daughters here in the audience. I know we are grateful for all that you've done and the imprint you have put on this district and your constant urging of us to remember math, which we do, even if we don't want to. So it's been wonderful to serve with you these 12 years, and we're excited for the next 25.
Ms. Cyrek?
I would just like to thank you for being such a great role model, encouraging me to join the school committee, and then also being able to work with you as the dual pillars of reading and math. So, but I appreciate all the support, that you provide to the students in the district, and, actually really what a great role model you are for all of us. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Christy. You're welcome.
I will just add that I think if people in the community could see all of the hours and all of the work that you have put in over the past 25 years, they would be simply amazed, and they would have a lot to thank you for in terms of making the Walpole Public Schools what it is today. And you should know that it doesn't go unnoticed, and we very greatly appreciate it. And to add to that, I will just read this citation from the House of Representatives. Be it hereby known to all that the Massachusetts House of Representatives offers its sincerest congratulations to Nancy Gallivan in recognition of your 25 years of service to the Walpole School Committee. The entire membership extends its very best wishes and expresses the hope for future good fortune and continued success in all endeavors. And before I turn the floor over to you, we have some other Gallivans present, and so if any of the other Gallivans would like to speak, you are more than welcome, but I'm putting you on the spot, and so if you'd rather just give a thumbs up to your mom, that's fine too. But we do want to invite you up to take a photo.
I mean, you've been on the school committee my entire life. Pretty inspirational. So, yeah.
And I haven't seen you in over 2 weeks, which I don't usually do. And Allie, you didn't just come home for a random reason.
Yeah, so get on up there.
We just got back from vacation. We
Oh.
haven't been
Yeah, all right, well, you guys get over
Yeah, get in
in front.
Okay. Okay. Okay,
I know. I turned it off.
That's awesome. Do you want to take this one?
Yeah.
Oh, thank you guys. Holy cow.
Surprise!
No crying at school committee.
Surprise you,
No, Nancy.
right?
Is there anything that you would like to say?
Oh, I don't think so.
All right.
Thanks, you guys.
Well, we will stop shining the official spotlight on
Yeah.
you, but know that it's not really off of you, because we appreciate you every day, not just today.
Well, that was really nice. Thank you very, very much. I will say that.
Thank you. Okay, on to new business. Our first item of new business is the school opening
Now we get
report.
to the real exciting stuff. No, we are excited to welcome back our students and our staff to the new school year. I believe it's the 23-24 school year. So school offices, they're open. They officially opened on Tuesday. All staff will report back on Monday, and they'll have training both on Monday and Tuesday. Bill and I will give our welcome back opening to the staff Monday morning, and then the students come in on Wednesday. And then next week, the pre-K and the kindergartners will come back on Tuesday, September 5th. So in my newsletter, I included links to the starting and end times, also the calendar, and as well as the bus route. So that's all on the newsletter that was just out. And speaking of the newsletter and getting that out, people may have been dinged about that. So we have the new website, and Walpole Public Schools is really thrilled to announce that we have the new app, through ThrillShare Apogee, and that allows people to stay up to date and can download on their iPhone or Android. And I also put that on my newsletter in order to sign up. But it seems like an enormous amount of people have already done that. So that's great. And we're just going to, continue to make sure that it's a, learning curve for everybody. But it's a really exciting adventure. This week we had approximately 35 new staff, had a week-long orientation, so I'm going to turn that over to Dr. Hahn, who will talk about our new staff.
Yep, thank you, Bridget, Dr. Goff. We had, like Dr. Goff just said, we had an incredible new staff orientation with approximately 35 new staff across all 8 of our schools. And it was evident almost immediately that we have an incredibly talented group of educators with the best interests of students in mind in all things they do. Programming this week included some of the more traditional aspects of orientation that you'd expect with technology, HR, evaluation training, but we also include crucial time for collaboration, team building, PD for cultural proficiency, safety, school safety under the ALICE, bullying prevention, and also work within civil rights. So I'd like to just quickly, if you'd allow me to, a special thank you. I do not do this alone. I have so many presenters from across the district that support and join us throughout the 4 days of orientation, including Tom Reeve, John O'Leary, Jill Masterson, Jill Kimball, Sheila Rinaldi, Officer Tommy Hart, Bailey Tide, Jacinia Burke, Sarah Scales, Shannon Finley, Dave Cuzzy, Will O'Malley, and of course I couldn't do any of it without the help and support of Kathy Mortali. So I am so excited about what this new staff will bring to our district, and so grateful for an awesome week with them. So thank you.
In terms of building projects and improvement this summer, Mike, you can listen so if I forget anything, you can jump in. We have, obviously, the progress on the newly combined middle school has been nothing short of amazing. I was over there today. We had the Bird Middle School sneak peek. So just to take a look at that building, it's incredible. The parking lot is paved for the staff, so we're good there, and that's lined. There's new, even additional parking spaces on there, and I believe the path will be paved, at the end of this week. So we'll be good to go there. The second phase, all the elementary STEM spaces are now complete with the addition of materials and furniture, and Mike did a lot of work on that, so thanks, Mike. Drive past the front entrance of Walpole High if you haven't. There's the wall. The wall's been done. Looks fantastic. And then we have the resurfacing of the track as well. And then the HVAC for the cafeteria in the high school as well. So that's a big bonus. The high school renovation projects now moved into the design and development phase, so that brings us closer to addressing many of our needs that we've advocated for well over, 8 years now, and we developed our statement of interest. Through all our interviews and summer, our summer work, our R&D work, our curriculum work continued. I think you all know that this year in August that we have free lunch, free meals, breakfast for our students, so that is huge. So that's regardless of household income. So that's a big bonus as well. Mike, I know you're going to talk about access control later in the capital. Am I forgetting anything else in terms of?
There's a lot of smaller things, but no, you covered the big ones.
Okay, all right, so, yeah, lots that were done over the summer. In terms of hiring, knock on wood, we're in good shape. We are looking for a middle school science teacher. That was reposted today, so if anybody knows anybody. We're looking good on the ESP front. We're still, looking for a few ESPs, but compared to other districts, we're looking very good with that. So we're happy about that. And Walk with the Supers is back. So Dr. Hahn and myself, we're looking at Friday, September 22nd at 8:30 at the Walpole High School track. And this event's really designed to provide community engagement and allow people to walk with us, talk, ask questions, or just have a conversation. So we'll do that on the 22nd. And in your packet, you should have the new staff and personnel sheet along with college acceptance list, which is impressive. And that's all I have.
Thank you, Dr. Goff. Any questions or comments for Dr. Goff or Dr. Hahn?
And the principals will be here in the next school committee for opening, and we'll get an update. And I can give you an update on enrollment information too as well. People are still enrolling as we speak, right, Mrs. Mortali?
It's always exciting to see these lists, both the college acceptances and the new staff, because it represents so many new beginnings and so much possibility and fresh starts, and it's exciting. It's a challenging time of year to say goodbye to summer, but it is also an exciting time of year for us. So thank you for that. Our next item of new business is a student activity fund update.
So in your packet is a list of the student activity accounts at each of our schools, including the balances in each one of those accounts. And I just wanted to kind of highlight a few things. So what's different about student activities and why we recognize them each year in this manner is it's required by law to do that. Student activities accounts are the accounts that are each school has, that they hold parent and family's money in custody while we wait for an activity to take place. It could be a field trip, it could be a club, and you can see many of the activities going on in our schools. So that's what's unique about these accounts, and it's that holding the parent family's monies that is makes them very unique. These accounts are overseen by the principal in each building. The secretaries balance the accounts and make sure that financially they're managed correctly. And then, of course, the business office oversees that through QuickBooks, so we can pop in and out of these accounts and view them at the same time as the schools. Each account is audited every 3 years to verify fiscal compliance. And then I wanted to just highlight, since you don't have the prior fiscal year, the net difference is about $4,000 overall, the total at the bottom of this list. So it hasn't changed a whole bunch. But what has ramped up in both Elm Street and Fisher schools are the after-school enrichment. During COVID, that really quieted down, and we weren't able to do a lot of offerings. And Fisher and Elm in particular really have ramped it up. The other schools were able to do some things, but that's really grown, and that's great to see that kids are being offered all these different opportunities now that weren't available prior. So I just wanted to highlight that. I can answer any questions that you may have with any of these accounts, but otherwise it's really just a recognition and acknowledgement for the school committee that these accounts exist and these are the balances in those accounts.
Questions for Mr. Frisha? All right, thank you for the update.
You're welcome.
Next item of business is also Mr. Frisha's. It's a capital update.
Okay, so in your packet, I decided to put in here, after consulting with Superintendent Goff, the actual progress we've made and where we stand as far as our capital budget. So we have 5 requests, and in the packet on the first page, you'll see 3 of those, and those, but I'll go to the second page and actually walk you through. So Chromebook replacement is our number 1 priority. We requested of the town, and that's in the left-hand column, $300,000.
and the town administrator at this point has committed to, when this sheet was done, $150,000. So our first priority wasn't fully funded, and we are in dialogue with Jim Johnson, going back and forth about that. But that was our number one priority for Chromebooks, and that will serve multiple grades as well as replacement cycles for all the Chromebooks that are in the schools now. That has grown significantly over the years because with COVID, everyone wound up with a device, and now we have to maintain those. So that's a significant increase, that obligation. Number 2 was the Walpole High School HVAC replacement, and that was $4 million that we put in a request for. The town administrator is looking to fund $600,000 of that from capital. We also have some grants that we've been awarded. We have Green Communities funding that's also out there. So although it looks, and it is low as compared to our request, we do have other resources that we're able to utilize. So we will make more progress than just that $600,000. But obviously we'll be back next year for additional funding as well. And then number 3, as Superintendent Goff mentioned, access control. So we have good news on that front. I'd say probably 4 months ago, around January of last year, Jody Delph and I, with her assistants, wrote a grant for security, school security, and were awarded about $145,000 grant funding. We just made the deadline. It was the last day. We didn't expect to get anything, and we got $145,000. So I took Lantel, our vendor, through the schools about 2 weeks ago, and they saw everything that we wanted to be controlled, access control, which means like swipe cards or fobs to enter the buildings. Buildings are locked down at all times. So really it's reining in an additional layer of security in each building. The estimate came in at 178, so we're only short by about 36,000. So we actually don't need the full 250, but if we get the full 250, I'll use it for other security measures. So I'm not saying that we give up on that by any stretch. But we are really well positioned, and all the equipment should be in within 4 weeks, and the installs of the equipment should be done within that 4-week window as well. And then we can talk about how to manage the systems, and how do we go with cards, do we go with fobs? We need to make some decisions, but the good news is that system will be in place in about a month. So very happy about that. It's many years in the making. So that was number 3. Number 4 is modular classrooms at Feeney Preschool. We have over the past 3-4 years really been hitting the level of capacity that Elm Street School has in the preschool area. So we are considering modular classrooms. We've had them costed out. What would it take to add 2 additional classrooms? Where would we place those? So many of those conversations have just begun. We're at the beginning of the process. We are not currently at capacity, but we always want to be looking ahead, and the town encourages us to give a 5-year look ahead. So we added this one on here. I anticipate you'll see this over the next few years as we continue to grow as a preschool, as our enrollments increase. But that's a pretty accurate figure of what that would cost for those 2 classrooms. And then the final item is number 5, which is elementary school HVAC design. So obviously you can see HVAC is a concern. I think watching the news, seeing how the weather has kind of been weird this summer and excessive in many areas of the country, I think we're fortunate, at least at this point. HVAC is really a concern. We need to take care of that in our buildings. And that doesn't just include air conditioning, that's also more efficient heating, electrification of our buildings, a whole series of things that we're working on. So we're working in collaboration with Jim Johnson, Donnie Anderson, the people on the DPW side to really manage this. But our request for the 3 elementary schools is $3 million, $1 million apiece. That's an estimate. Obviously, some analysis will need to be done to really dial that in. And that was number 5. Happy to answer any questions about capital. That is the extent of our capital request for this year.
Thank you, Mike. And just to clarify, when you say 3 elementary schools, for people who may be listening at home, we say 3 because Elm Street already has the system in place.
Correct.
Okay. Questions or comments? Ms. Rogers?
I just have one question with the Feeney. Is there, I know there's discussions before about Feeney moving into a different space. And if so, if we move and there's more space, will this just become a different part of the budget? Like if we end up getting the money for modular classrooms?
I think if we moved, we wouldn't fund the modulars. We would move to a place that has more space. We're very limited in those options, though, and I think some discussion about Johnson Middle School, repurposing that, I don't think is as serious a consideration as it was initially. So I think that I think the Feeney preschool will probably stay where it is, and if we do continue to grow, we will need extra capacity there.
Thank you.
Mr. Buckley?
Very quickly, strong report, as always. When we talk about the HVAC improvements, are we incorporating building management systems into that?
Excellent
So-
question.
We are, okay, so,
And we're actually standardizing. So what Mr. Buckley's referring to is the systems that control the HVAC systems are haphazard, to say the least, at this point. We're looking to unify that under the guidance of our energy manager, Kathy Stanley. And so that every time a maintenance DPW person or a custodian moves from a building to a building, the systems are the same, the controls are the same. And that's really important in effectively managing those systems. So we are looking at that. I was just talking to Donnie Anderson about that today.
and obviously the next generation of that is being able to basically control Fish's heat from, the head of maintenance's iPad. So I think that's where a lot of efficiencies and energy stuff is really going, and a lot of folks moving that direction. So I'm glad we're looking at that as well.
Great question.
Anything else? Okay, thank you, Mr. Fisher, very much. Next item of new business is subcommittee assignments. And so in your packets, you have a list of all of the subcommittees, as well as where there are vacancies. And so just to review, certain subcommittees, notably communications and budget, are committee-wide, and so we don't narrow that down to a subcommittee. Everything else, policy, negotiations, superintendent evaluation, curriculum, special ed, wellness, and legislative is a subcommittee of 3. And so if you look at your committee assignments now and feel the wish to try something new, or you would like to fill one of the vacancies that you see listed, please just reach out to me, and we will get this finalized for the coming school year. Any questions about that? Yes, Mrs. Gallivan?
Just 2 thoughts. One is, I've been the tech representative for a long time, and I absolutely positively love it, but the meetings are Friday mornings, and if ever anybody else wanted to attend, there are only 6 across the school year, but they're always Friday mornings, starting at 8:15. So far, we've been doing them remotely, and I know we're going to planning on continuing this year. Just keep it in mind, if it's something that any of you guys want to join in on, it's informative to hear what's going on in some other districts. And then the other thought that I had is the PAC liaisons. We have done all sorts of varieties of things like that, but I'd like to at least think about maybe all of us becoming a liaison to, I don't know whether it's the school as opposed to the PAC or the government. I don't know, just a thought when I saw that. I thought, maybe it would be useful for us to expand that. So 2 thoughts.
Yeah, and we have handled that a few ways, and I think in recent years, we've been fortunate that many of us have had a natural connection to one or more school buildings, and so it just happened that way. And personally, I find that very convenient if I'm already going to the PAC meeting as a parent, right, to go in a dual capacity. So I like that idea. I think if anybody here has a burning desire to be a liaison for a particular building, you can also let me know that, and we'll get a list going for that as well.
We'll do Johnson for 1 more year.
Yeah, that can be your valedictory, Mr. Buckley at Johnson.
Watch it go.
Okay. Last item of new business is the Walpole Public Schools and Walpole Police Department Memorandum of Understanding.
Yes, just some background. So DESE, Department of Elementary and Secondary Education, part of their regs, they require districts to update the SRO MOU annually. So what you have is the marked version as an FYI. The version that you have, obviously without the blue and the red, was signed and uploaded to DESE. So a couple of things. This template and the language is like other districts in our Commonwealth, is modeled directly from the Attorney General's office. I was able to work with Chief Kelleher, and it was also reviewed by legal counsel, before we send anything in. So as you'll see, some of these changes, when you read through it, they're made for clarity, they're made for readability. It's also to reduce redundancy, and in other areas, it refers to Mass General Law. So what we do is that if the law changes, you don't need to continue to change the language, you just refer to the law. So if you remember last year, like with the wellness policy, we did that as well. And then others for readability and just for clarification. So instead of saying school, it should read district. So just really looking and fine tuning. So you'll see the changes in blue, and then some of the deletions, and some of areas were just moved to make it better organized. So the final was signed by myself and Chief Kelleher and sent to Desi. So, my recommendation is just make sure you review it, and if you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out to me.
Questions or comments for Dr. Goff? Is the new version on our website under the policy
and
section?
I'm working with Tom, and we'll get that on there now that it's finalized and it's uploaded, and Desi
Great.
gives the thumbs up, and then we're gonna get
Perfect.
it on there.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to old business, a middle school building project update. Our chairperson, Mr. Breen, is not present this evening, so Dr. Goff, would you like to give
Yeah,
an update?
like I said, that they're really working hard in preparation for opening. The parking lot's paved and lined. I think I mentioned that's like 65 spots. Same traffic pattern, buses in the center lane, cars in the right lane. They just sent the image that Mr. Connor will send to families on entering. We watched them kind of come down for sixth grade for a sneak peek. Pedestrian path, I mentioned, will be open at the end of the week, and that the roofers completed one area. I think that was Area D. They're working on Area C. And they put some concrete areas in the, pavers in the auditorium. So, some 2 concrete pours, I believe, in the auditorium. So, exciting stuff.
Any questions? Mrs. Galvin?
Just 2 thoughts. One is, I had talked to Dr. Goff about this, but I would like us to get a chance to take a walk over there, to actually see and be in the building. I know the select board did it recently. And, I think it's just on us to be informed enough to be able to, to inform the public, but there's nothing like seeing it yourself. So that was one thing. The other is, when I saw the bus route thing getting sent out, I think it's our responsibility in the next year to talk to people about the fact that we don't want to create a lot of congestion at the school, and there will be twice as many kids there. I think the biggest problem is people who want to pick up their kids but don't want to drive down the driveway and get in line. And that causes a lot of cars being in places that either are troublesome to the neighbors or are just not safe. So, I was talking to somebody, and they were saying, well, what can you do? I think the thing that we can do is to really encourage people to use the bus and not pick up their kids unless they really need to. It's an environmental thing, that if we can, we should be using the buses. And I think it's kind of on us over the next year to talk about that. Because we've all made those, it's not a mistake, but we've all made those convenient decisions of saying, I don't want to have to get in line. Well, guess what? We can all find the 15 minutes to go through the line and not drive across the neighbors' lawns and, ridiculous things that
And with the
sometimes
paths
happen.
paved too, walking,
Yep.
biking, we'll have bike racks.
Yeah,
Right, and there'll be many more kids, I think, whose parents will take advantage of it now that they might have to travel farther, right?
Right,
From the
right.
Johnson population anyways.
Yeah.
That's a really important point to bring up, so thank you for putting that on the radar. Any other comments about the middle school? On to the high school project.
No, I think we're just still, with the summer, we did the wall, just in that, what I mentioned, the design and development phase, and we'll be starting up those meetings for this month, probably, September.
Yes, so there's a lot of work to be done, but it's good for the community to be aware that we'll be going to town meeting next year in fall 2024 for the funding. So just for people to know that that's where it stands. So a lot of the work is behind the scenes between now and then.
Great.
Anybody want to chime in on high school?
How do
Ms.
we get
Rogers?
involved in this? If on the board or in general, the high school renovation project, it's like being involved in conversation.
As a community member or as a school
Well,
committee
I'm
member?
asking personally and
Yes.
others.
So we can share with you, Ms. Rogers, information about the ongoing meetings that recur regularly, which you would be welcome to join and sit in on. I guess it's good for us to note that, a lot of this happened, a lot of the group discussion with school committee happened last year. And so I think we can arrange for lots of opportunities to bring you up to speed and for you to kind of observe the ongoing progress. And I think for the community at large, I think we always have this agenda item on our list every 2 weeks. And so when there are lots of updates, we give them here, and they are in the superintendent's report, which goes out via email. But it's not going to be, I think, too many large, significant updates over the course of the next year.
The good news is we've got Vertex, right, and we've got TAPE. So what they'll do is, as we get closer, they will help us arrange, whether it be community forums and how to get this information out. So the first forum might be like at a school committee meeting, but then having those more public-facing sessions. So that's something that, as we get closer, to be able to communicate what the design and development will look like.
It's exciting. Thank you.
Yep. Anything else? Okay, next is subcommittee activity. I don't believe any subcommittees have met of late.
No.
Okay, so,
Would you mind?
oh, go ahead.
It's not a subcommittee, but I'm in the process of writing a letter to our legislators. And it's fine if it comes from me. If we decided to, it could come from the committee. But we got some very, very favorable state funding this year. So first of all, I just wanted to reach out and thank them for the funding that we received. But I'm also concerned about the fact that if it goes through as is structured, we could negate all the funding that we are scheduled to receive, because we'll have to pay a significant amount of money for the Tri-County project. So I just want to share with you what I'm thinking about saying, and then we can decide whether people want it to come from the committee or not. But what I'm thinking of is, thank you for 10 years of work. We've worked very effectively together for a long amount of time, but it's been at least 10 years since we've gotten such a nice amount of state aid. I note that the increase in state aid has come in educational line items. And I feel like they've been very responsive to what they've heard from us, both about what we've had for multi-year concerns, but also our recent growth in special ed. And then what I want to say is something along the lines of, at the risk of sounding unappreciative, I want to give you the heads up that the $1 million increase that we all worked so hard for will almost totally be negated if the town of Walpole has to pay $1 million a year for a Tri-County building. And I'm just saying it mainly as a heads up, that this is one of the things that we'll be asking them to work on over the next year. So if opportunities come along to increase the amount of money that's paid for by the state, I'd be asking them to do that. What I have here is, I want to be clear that I am supportive of the Tri-County Voc Tech and vocational education as a whole. But I also know that when they were originally built, the state of Massachusetts paid for the buildings. And I think it could be an unintended consequence, but knowing how hard it is to finally get the support that Walpole Public Schools needed through the state budget, I would ask you to turn your attention to help mitigate the possibility of losing this newfound ground by finding a cost structure where the state will share more of the cost. So I don't know, if you guys would prefer that I send it as an individual, or if I can bring it back the next time, or if we want to think about it as a committee.
Thoughts?
Fine by me. Send it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll work it through a little bit and share it with you guys
Sounds
as
great.
as it develops. 'cause
Thank you
it's
for
in-
doing that.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, seeing no citizens for comments, we will move on to approval of warrants, donations, and minutes. Ms. Rogers, would you like to take the warrants?
Or, so I'd like to put in a motion to approve the warrants in your packet. There's quite a few from over the summer. I went through each and every one. Basically went blind doing it, but went through it. And they all looked good to me.
Do you need to read them out?
We're going to read all the numbers.
Want me to-
Do we need to read the numbers?
We need to do it separately.
Payroll and
Generally,
expenses.
yeah.
Yeah.
So,
So the payroll, if you would like to read the numbers for the payroll warrants, and then we'll vote on those, and then
Okay.
we'll do the same for accounts payable.
okay, so the payroll warrants are as follows: 2349 PS, 2351 PS, 2353 PS, 2401 PS, 2304 PB, 2303 PS, 2405 PS.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Rogers, second by Mrs. Syrek. All those in favor? Opposed, abstained? 500. Mr. Buckley?
No, I was voting.
Okay. Okay, great. And motion to approve the accounts payable warrants?
Yes.
And those numbers are?
Buckle in. 223049. Oh, those are all the same. 223050. 223051. 223052. 223053. 224003. 224004. 224005. And 224006.
Second.
Motion by Ms. Rogers, second by Mrs. Syrek. All those in favor? Opposed, abstained, 500. Would someone like to take the donations and gifts?
Sure. It's usually your job, Carrie.
I know.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the following gifts. To the Boyden School, Fisher School, and Johnson Middle School from Bay State Textiles for $800. To Boyden School from Boyden School PAC for $427. For Johnson Middle School from the Walpole Teachers Association for $500. System-wide from Community Gardens for $265. And system-wide from Bay State Federal Savings Chairs for Retiring Teachers for $500.
Would second that?
Motion by Ms. Syrek, second by Mrs. Gallivan. All those in favor? Opposed, abstained, 500. And lastly, approval of minutes.
Madam Chair, make a motion to approve the June 20th, 2023 regular open session school committee meeting minutes.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Buckley, second by Mrs. Syrek. All those in favor? Opposed, abstained, 500.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Buckley, second by Mrs. Syrek. All those in favor? Opposed, abstained. Thank you, everyone. That's 500. We wish everyone a wonderful back to school, and we will see you soon. Good night.